Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another installment of Gaga's Fiction. I trust you are all well. Today, we are excited to present a new video, the first part of a captivating series entitled What If Naruto Unleashed Orochimaru's Power? We sincerely hope that you will find it engaging and enjoyable. Without any more delay, let's begin. Naruto, user of Kaiten, the blood element. Chapter 1, Kekkei Genkai. It had not been a good day for Naruto Uzumaki, not that any day was particularly favorable for the blonde ninja. Despite having become a ninja, the world continued to despise him. Even some fellow ninjas exhibited disdain towards him. The girl he was in love with still ignored and belittled him, while she admired the brooding Uchiha. It seemed that nobody paid any attention to him. Even individuals like Gaara of the Sand or Rock Lee challenged the Uchiha, completely disregarding Naruto as if he were a mere inconsequential insect. To make matters worse, he had a written test as the first part of the Chūnin Exams, and Naruto lacked the concentration and inclination to attend classes, resulting in an absolute disaster during the test. Fortunately, his test paper was not reviewed, and he managed to pass even without answering a single question correctly. Subsequently, the second part of the exam took place in an immense forest, a forest with a foreboding reputation, presided over by a sinister examiner. The forest teemed with giant animals and insects that seemed eager to make a meal out of him. To top it off, other rival ninjas were attempting to kill him to obtain the coveted scroll. Not even 24 hours had passed when he found himself swallowed whole by a cursed giant snake, separated from his teammates. This raised a significant question in his mind. What exactly was he? Yes, he called himself a ninja because he possessed a hit-eye that declared as much, but technically speaking, he was feeble. The only jutsu he knew was Cage Bunshine, which allowed him to create multiple solid copies of himself. This skill granted him a minor numerical advantage, but beyond that, he was far from being a true ninja. His taijutsu skills were dismal, he struggled with elemental techniques, and his chakra control was abysmal. In a way, he was similar to Sakura. While she excelled in chakra control and could effortlessly dispel and apply genjutsu, she was little more than a spoiled girl craving attention from a boy who didn't spare her a second thought. What made matters worse was his assigned sensei, Kakashi Hatake, who clearly favored Sasuke Uchiha above all else. Kakashi's obsession with the Icha Paradise series made Naruto suspect the man might be infatuated with Sasuke even more than Sakura was. The only training he received was about tree climbing with chakra, and he had so much chakra that he needed far more advanced exercises to make any meaningful progress. After being devoured by a giant creature, he realized two things. First, that he couldn't rely on his team to achieve anything, and second, that he was far from being a true ninja. Nevertheless, he managed to save himself once more using the only jutsu he knew. Afterward, he leapt in search of his teammates, only to discover them handing the scroll to a rival ninja. This infuriated him, prompting him to leap into action and seize the scroll himself. What followed was a classic, albeit late realization that he was once again making a fool of himself. After a grueling battle, at least for him, the Nine Tails chakra began to surge from his body, slightly leveling the playing field. He made a startling discovery: he had never emerged victorious from a battle on his own merits before. It had always been the Nine Tails chakra controlling his actions. He used it when they fought Zabuza, and he used it now. It was utterly pathetic. Even a fraction of the Nine Tails chakra could control him, he didn't even have the willpower to harness it himself. When they discovered that their opponent was Orochimaru, a rogue S-rank ninja, also known as one of the legendary Sannin, things took a turn for the worse. Not even the Nine Tails chakra could stand up to him. Naruto found himself pinned against a colossal tree, struggling to breathe with a hand around his throat and a man with pale skin and yellow eyes uncomfortably close to his face. Orochimaru chuckled with that spine-chilling laughter. "You gave me quite a fight, Naruto-kun," he said, sending shivers down Naruto's spine. When he addressed him like that, it sounded as though he was on the verge of violating him or something equally disturbing. "Your chakra is dangerous. Let's see how you fare without it." He raised his right hand, from which 5 small flames appeared on each finger, and plunged it into Naruto's stomach, where the seal containing the 9 tails was located. Naruto felt his skin pierced by an excruciating pain that made him shudder and spit blood. He was astonished that he hadn't died from blood loss already, considering the myriad of wounds he had sustained. Naruto soon lost consciousness, and Orochimaru laughed again, tossing the boy aside, seemingly unconcerned that they were high up on a branch above the rooftops. Below, Sakura shuddered at the sight of her comrade's lifeless form flying through the air. She drew a kunai and hurled it as hard as she could. Thankfully, her aim had improved considerably, and she managed to impale Naruto against the tree just in time. That was close, she whispered. Orochimaru grinned once more and returned his attention to the person he had truly been seeking, Sasuke. He smiled even wider when he saw Sasuke frowning. No one fought his battles for him, no one could defeat him until he avenged his brother. He was an Uchiha, and everyone was beneath him. He produced a few kunai and swiftly threw them, though the more experienced ninja effortlessly evaded them. That Dobi is a nuisance. He'll never fight for me. I'm elite, a genius. Typical of the Uchiha, Orochimaru thought, amused. Sasuke was just like his father, a complete copy. He activated his Sharingan to enhance his vision and anticipate the ninja's movements. They engaged in a battle of speed with punches and kicks, and with each exchange, Sasuke's eyes adapted to his opponent's swiftness. He was still faster, but at least Sasuke was starting to level the playing field. Sasuke swiftly formed hand signs and inhaled deeply. Katen, Gokakyu no Jutsu, Fire Style, Great Fireball Jutsu, he shouted as he exhaled a massive blaze. After the attack, he had to leap away to evade Orochimaru's counterattack. The Sannin was incredibly unpredictable, and if not for Sasuke's dojutsu, he would have been dead long ago. Orochimaru exploited the momentum of his jump to move to another branch and quickly launch another assault. He threw several shurikens, which Orochimaru dodged with ease. You're fast and accurate, Orochimaru thought, pleased. You have good moves. Using his speed, Orochimaru closed in, his body contorting in ways a normal body shouldn't, and he tried to strike again. Sasuke jumped away. And with chakra in his feet, he clung to the upper branch before jumping to another and then another. Sasuke propelled himself toward Orochimaru, grabbing the Sannin by the torso. He yanked Orochimaru away from the upper branch, and they began to descend rapidly through the air. In mid-air, they changed positions, leaving the rogue ninja upside down and smashing him forcefully against a branch. Sasuke released Orochimaru's body and stared at it for a moment, his eyes widening as he saw it turn into mud. A clone, he exclaimed, surprised. He sensed danger to his left and instinctively jumped, narrowly avoiding a barrage of deadly weapons raining down on him. He managed to cling to a branch with a ninja wire and landed on another branch below. He quickly raised his head to see his opponent already on top of him. He received a punch to the face, but Orochimaru didn't allow him to get away. Orochimaru seized Sasuke by the shoulders and pulled him toward his knee, delivering a powerful blow to his abdomen. Another strike to the face, followed by a kick that sent Sasuke flying several meters. The Uchiha landed painfully. Poor worm, you turned out to be a disappointment, Orochimaru commented as he approached slowly. Your ancestors must be supporting me to have you killed. Sasuke opened his eyes slightly, a faint smile forming when he heard the sound of a fuse. Soon, a small explosion propelled Orochimaru forward, and Sasuke jumped to another branch, pulling the ninja wire with him. Orochimaru opened his eyes slightly, impressed to see the wire wrapping around him. He gasped in pain as it completely ensnared him against the giant tree. Katen, Ryuka no Jutsu, Fire Style, Dragon Flame Jutsu, Sasuke exclaimed. The fire attack shot out with great force towards Orochimaru, who screamed in agony. The flames even pierced through the tree trunk. When the attack concluded, Sasuke felt extremely drained and fatigued. The last jutsu had drained a significant amount of his chakra. Sakura soon stood beside Sasuke, smiling contentedly that her crush had defeated the monster. You did it! She shouted with joy and even jumped a little. Sasuke remained there for a moment, panting heavily. When the wire binding Orochimaru finally broke, and they sensed the overwhelming killing intent in the area, so heavy that it made their legs feel like jelly. A good mastery of your Sharingan at this age, Orochimaru's voice echoed. You are an Uchiha after all. Yes, you will be perfect. He raised the scroll he had stolen from them earlier and began to burn it. Sakura complained about the scroll, attempting not to lie down on the branch. What do you want? We will meet again, Sasuke, but not before you complete this exam with the highest score of all and defeat the sound ninja who serve me. Orochimaru performed hand seals, and his neck extended rapidly, lunging toward Sasuke and biting his neck. The first thought that crossed Sakura's mind when she saw that was that Orochimaru was giving him a hickey, but she quickly reacted when she heard Sasuke's cries. No, Sasuke! She yelled. What did you do, you bastard? I just gave him a parting gift, Orochimaru grinned. Soon, Sasuke will come to me seeking my power. In the meantime, enjoy the display of your abilities. He laughed as he started to merge into the tree. A few seconds later, Sasuke passed out from the pain. Sakura sighed, feeling relieved that she no longer sensed that ominous killing intent. She quickly got up, checked on her comrade, and noticed the bite mark with a strange symbol just above, resembling the Sharingan's kamas. What is this? She wondered aloud. Since she had no idea what Orochimaru had done, she gathered her strength, managed to drag Sasuke to where Naruto was hanging, and used chakra to climb the tree trunk. She then took Naruto and, despite his smaller size, he seemed surprisingly heavy. He also felt hot to the touch, but when she glanced back at him, there was nothing unusual. She continued walking, growing increasingly frustrated with the physical effort she had to exert. She also despised the fact that they had ventured into this wretched forest. She eventually found a concealed spot, a small clearing surrounded by a few trees and some bushes. It wasn't the ideal hiding place, but it would suffice until one of her two companions woke up. Once she managed to place them both in the clearing, hidden as best as she could by the bushes, she began to examine them. She opened her medical pouch and was surprised to find shampoo, conditioner, makeup, and a comb. She sighed, realizing she had to remove these beauty products to access her medical tools. She closed the pouch and turned her attention to Sasuke, who was the closest. He had a few wounds, but nothing too concerning. The thigh wound was the worst, but it appeared to be healing already, with the blood dried up. She moved on to Naruto, who had more wounds, likely from his battle with Orochimaru. He had cuts, bruises, and scrapes all over his body. His fight with Orochimaru had been impressive, but she couldn't comprehend the red chakra that had enveloped him. She lifted his shirt, and her hand recoiled as she felt the heat radiating from his body. She also noticed the strange tattoo-like mark with 5 points, where blood had oozed but had already clotted. She gently touched the mark, wondering what it could be, and quickly withdrew her hand as she felt Naruto's skin burning beneath her touch. Worried, Sakura touched Naruto's forehead, but quickly withdrew her hand. He has a very high fever, she whispered. She tore a piece of her already torn dress and wet it with some water they had brought. She placed it on Naruto's forehead. Not knowing what to do and without medical supplies, this could become worse than it already was. She sighed and got up to prepare traps. Once she was ready, she sat between her two companions to check on Naruto and change the cloth on his forehead when it dried up. She also had a kunai in hand, observing her surroundings. It was the worst time to fall ill or be unconscious. She hoped that nothing would happen. She opened her eyes when she heard a strange sound, like a drop of water hitting a puddle but amplified 1,000 times, causing her ears to ring and her head to ache. She immediately noticed the water beneath her body, but it didn't seem to wet her. It was very strange. Again, the drop of water sounded all around her, causing her to close her eyes and cover her ears with her hands. When it stopped, she got up slowly, looking around. She was in a corridor with orange walls. The ground was water, and above her head were pipes. It looked quite similar to a sewer where she had once hidden from villagers to avoid another beating. At least it didn't smell like a sewer. She touched the wall and felt it was hot, as if the stone had been in the sun for a long time. Looking down, she noticed a black abyss extending for who knows how many kilometers below, and strangely, she was standing on the water as if it were solid ground. She had seen Kakashi-sensei stand on water once, but she didn't know how to do it. She took a step to the side, creating ripples in the water, but she didn't fall. "This keeps getting stranger," she whispered. She glanced from side to side and began to walk. Perhaps she would find a way out. This place gave her the creeps. She had been walking for at least an hour, but she didn't feel tired, and her feet didn't hurt. The only thing she had was a migraine from the constant dripping of a drop into the water. Suddenly, hot air, like the walls of the place, came from ahead, making her take a step back due to its force. After it subsided, she walked towards the source, puzzled by the intense heat. She had to walk for at least another hour until she found a massive chamber. Pipes converged here, and her feet sank slightly into the water, reaching her ankles. The water was cold, even though the walls were hot. In front of her were huge bars, and on the joint of the doors was a small piece of paper that seemed to be half peeled. A stronger breeze came from inside the doors, forcing her to plant her feet in the water and cover her eyes. Now, the wind sounded more like a snore. When it stopped, she took a few steps forward, trying to see what was inside the cage. When she was about 10 meters from the doors, a giant red eye suddenly appeared, startling her and making her stumble. "So, you've finally come," a voice that seemed to come from everywhere said. It was deep, grave, and eerie. "Who are you?" Naruto asked, a hint of fear in his voice. Enormous teeth formed a chilling smile against the darkness of the cage. "I'm your prisoner." For now. Naruto took another step back. The QB. It seems to be working. You're not as foolish as before, the fox commented. Naruto felt somewhat offended, but now that he thought about it, it was true. He felt different. He no longer felt the need to run on walls constantly, and he felt lighter, as if he didn't need to think much, and his body did what he wanted. What's happening? Naruto asked, perplexed. The fox laughed again. The seal that contains me also contains you. Your foolish father played with seals he didn't understand and ended up harming you. Have you ever wondered why, despite eating ramen every day and doing so much exercise running from ninjas, your body never seemed to change? You were smaller than the other kids. Naruto pondered the words of the nine tails. Why couldn't his mind stay still for a moment? Why couldn't he concentrate in class? Why, despite training tirelessly, couldn't he hit the target with a kunai? The seal, as it seemed, had contained half of his essence, and Orochimaru had just done him a favor. He knelt down and waited for the ripples to disappear. When his reflection began to clear, he was met with a boy whose face lacked its usual baby fat, with slightly thicker birthmarks, and the roots of his hair starting to change to a striking blood red. What's happening to me? He asked, puzzled. The Uzumaki genes have been activated, the fox mentioned, shifting a bit. One of the most powerful genes on the planet belongs to the Uzumaki clan. Now that the seal has been partially opened, your essence is changing. You're beginning to be yourself at last, starting with your physical appearance. The Uzumaki have always had red hair. Your body may grow, your eyes will change color, and you may finally activate your Kekkei Genkai. Naruto raised his head so quickly that his neck made a sound. Kekkei Genkai? Yes, the Uzumaki were known for a few Kekkei Genkai. Your mother seemed to have a good command of them, although she took great care to keep them a secret from everyone, even your father. Do you know who my parents are? Naruto almost shouted. He had always wanted to know who they were, if they had abandoned him and didn't want him. The information was right there at his fingertips, and he had never seen it. He tell me who they were. The fox sighed a bit. Truth be told, he was tired of seeing his container beaten and humiliated, even by himself. Humans were so foolish that they couldn't see what was right in front of them. Besides, he was Kurama, the Nine Tails, not Yoko, and he deserved nothing but the best. His container had potential, but he was sealed along with it, so he would help. It's not like once Naruto died, he couldn't break free from his prison and be free. A few years locked up there were nothing more than a blink for him. We'll talk about that later. This place is your mind, and it's like a maze. Why the hell is it a sewer? I have no idea. You need to find the rooms where your Kekkei Genkai are stored, pass some kind of test, I suppose, and you'll be able to leave once your mental body gets used to them. I recommend hurrying, something is happening outside. Naruto nodded and created hundreds of clones that quickly scattered to find the doors the Nine Tails had mentioned. He only hoped Sakura wasn't in trouble. Regardless of whether his appearance changed or not, his feelings for her would always remain the same, and he would do anything for her. They definitely attracted bad luck. There were no other options. Their teammates had been unconscious for at least 12 hours, maybe more, as she had no idea how time flowed in this place. It felt like she had been sitting there for an eternity and yet like time hadn't passed at all. The only way she could tell time had passed was that she was extremely tired. Her eyes kept closing, and she started nodding off. She only stayed awake because of the complaints from her two companions. Sasuke was the one who complained the most and moved the most, but Naruto seemed to have a fever that would exceed 104 degrees Fahrenheit, the maximum the human body could withstand. He was so hot that she couldn't touch him, and when she applied cold water cloths, they quickly heated up and evaporated. But fatigue wasn't the worst part. She had completely forgotten that Orochimaru had told her about men working for him, the Sound Ninja. Her first trap had apparently been too obvious and was avoided, and her second trap was destroyed as if it were nothing. She had only survived thanks to the timely intervention of Lee, someone she knew was stronger than Sasuke. The fight had been genuinely intense, but 3 against 1, Lee had quickly been defeated. Her teammates were unconscious, and she had to fight like she had never done before. She landed a couple of blows she was proud of, but if Lee was defeated, she was easy prey. Everything hurt after that. Her face was swollen, and her stomach felt like her organs had been rearranged into places they shouldn't be. And just when she thought all was lost, her rival appeared, Ino, along with Shikamaru and Choji. At first, they did well, and their teamwork would have won them the fight, but they didn't expect Ino to attack her own teammate as if it didn't matter. They simply launched their attack with the intention to kill, and the worst part was that she could feel that something was wrong. She sensed Naruto's chakra fluctuating strangely, while Sasuke's chakra seemed to be changing. And for the third time, someone appeared to help. This time it was Neji Hyuga and his teammate Tenten. They were searching for Lee, of course, but if someone like Neji could help, they were saved. However, they remained on the tree, which puzzled everyone. "So, are you going to come down and do something about it?" Sakura asked. "In fact, I don't think I need to intervene," Neji said, smiling, and deactivating his Byakugan. They returned to Sasuke and found him standing with strange marks on half of his face, his Sharingan active, and waves of chakra emanating from his body, chakra that made their skin crawl. "Sakura, who did this to you?" Neji asked angrily. Although he didn't care what happened to someone weak. "Sasuke, what's happening to you?" Sakura asked. "Don't worry, it's just power flowing inside me. In fact, I feel better than ever. He gave me this power, made me understand. I'm an Avenger, I must gain power at any cost, even if it means being consumed by this." Shikamaru took advantage of everyone's concentration on Sasuke to step aside. "Ino, get out of there. You don't want to get involved in this," he told his teammate, who was still inside Kin's body. "Choji, come here too." They quickly moved and found cover in some thick bushes where they could observe without being harmed. "I see, it's a curse mark," Dosu thought with irritation. He knew of 4 individuals who had survived that mark, and none of them could be taken down. Sasuke had reached a new level of power, he would kill them all. "I was the one who did it, and what?" Zaku muttered, smiling and feeling confident. Dosu looked back at him, annoyed. It seemed his partner was even more foolish than he had thought. More curse marks appeared on Sasuke's body as more power coursed through him. It felt so good, so exhilarating, he craved more, needed more of that power at any cost. "Zaku, wait," Dosu said as he saw his partner move. "Zankukyokua!" Zaku shouted, unleashing a powerful sound wave towards Sasuke and Sakura. Everything in its path was obliterated, even the tree near where Naruto lay unconscious. No one noticed as Naruto's body ended up buried under soil and wood. "That's it," Sasuke commented, appearing beside Zaku and striking him forcefully in the side with his fist, sending him flying towards Dosu. Sakura was also nearby, whom the black-haired youth saved by being close. It was annoying to have to save someone as weak as her, but he needed her to reach the tower. "Naruto, that guy, wouldn't die from that, after all, a weed never dies. He's fast," Dosu thought as Sasuke and his partner were suddenly right next to him. "Katen, Housenka no Jutsu, fire style, phoenix flames," Sasuke murmured, quickly forming hand signs and firing several fireballs at Zaku. The Attain countered with a Zankua, dispelling the flames, only to realize that among them were several shurikens that swiftly cut him. "Zaku, duck!" Dosu shouted, but his partner didn't heed the warning. Sasuke appeared behind the Attain, restraining his arms and stretching them behind his back, placing a foot on his back to aid in stretching his arms. "You seem to be very proud of these arms, don't you?" Sasuke taunted, pulling harder on Zaku's arms, causing him to groan in pain. "You must be quite attached to them." They could all hear the muscles and bones slowly breaking. Zaku screamed in agony, and Sasuke relished it, while everyone else present could only witness the horror unfolding before them. Then, something else happened. Suddenly, in the midst of Sasuke's attempt to break Zaku's arms, an immense killing intent manifested, so overwhelming it felt tangible, a force that brought them all to the ground, choking their breath. Neji, perched in the tree, began searching frantically for the source of this intent, but there was no one else around. Until he noticed a faint trace of chakra amidst a heap of earth and branches, growing stronger with each passing second. Some branches moved, drawing everyone's attention. There should be Naruto, Sakura managed to say. Earth and debris shifted, and suddenly a hand emerged, as if in a horror movie, bloody and covered in mud. More of Naruto's body followed, and they were astonished because the arm that emerged was muscular, unlike the arm Naruto should have had. Once the arm was free, the hand could properly grip the earth and exert force, allowing Naruto to finally escape the makeshift grave he had been trapped in. He gasped for air as he had been on the brink of death within that burial. They all inhaled in amazement at what they saw. While his body was covered in scars, it was incredibly well defined, with each muscle clearly defined. Despite the blood covering him, long red hair, with a few black strands here and there, was all that covered him, apart from his pants, now more like tiny orange shorts, nearly brown due to the dirt and blood. He even had only one of his ninja sandals. His hair concealed his face, preventing anyone from getting a good look at him. Still, even without seeing, he could sense the chakra of everyone nearby, with the dark and malevolent chakra being the most prominent. Right beside him was the chakra of the person most important to him. He felt a twinge of fear and resolve. He would protect Sakura with everything he had. If necessary, he would kill the bearer of the dark chakra to ensure Sakura's safety. He sighed as if acclimating to his body and began to straighten up. Some of his hair fell to one side, revealing an eye, a violet eye that sent shivers down everyone's spines. It felt like that I could see into their souls, piercing through them and revealing their essence. Once he had fully risen, he noticed that the bearer of the dark chakra was none other than Sasuke. He frowned. Sasuke was squeezing the arms of an auto ninja, and other members of Konoha's team surrounded them. Then, he shifted his gaze to Sakura and noticed how bruised and battered she was. Her right eye was swollen and turning black rapidly, blood streamed down her face, and she had cuts and bruises all over her body. His anger flared, and the killing intent that had been spreading intensified, binding everyone in its suffocating grip. "Sakura," he uttered in a raspy, deep voice, "what happened to you?" Sakura shivered slightly, but strangely, it wasn't out of fear as she had done when facing Sasuke. Instead, it felt like a strange warmth was enveloping and protecting her, as if the same killing intent that had pervaded the area was now covering her and keeping her safe. I. She swallowed hard to speak properly. "They were unconscious, so I protected them." Her body felt increasingly heavy, as if she were now certain that there was no danger, allowing her to relax completely. Naruto's eyes shifted to the auto nin and Sasuke. He didn't feel comfortable leaving Sakura so close to the black-haired boy in that state. He couldn't even recognize his teammate. He moved his right foot, and suddenly he disappeared from everyone's sight. Not even Sasuke and his Sharingan could follow him. He turned his head to the right, and Sakura was no longer there. He looked back and noticed the now red-haired individual gently placing Sakura next to teammate. Fast, Shikamaru muttered with wide eyes. "I couldn't see it," Sasuke whispered, releasing Zaku and glaring at Naruto with annoyance. No one should be stronger than him. Soon, the killing intent began to dissipate, as if Naruto were absorbing it, allowing everyone to move freely. Then, he frowned, his two violet eyes fixed on Dosu. "You dared to touch my teammate," he murmured, and that was enough to send shivers down everyone's spines. Sakura blushed. There was something so possessive in the way he said it that heated her up even more than she already was. Once again, the red-haired boy disappeared and reappeared behind Sasuke, who quickly turned around. "Damn, one after another," Zaku complained, but now he understood the danger he was in and kept quiet. "You dared to leave my teammate in that state," Naruto whispered again, flexing his fingers, making his bones crack. "You have no idea how much I want to kill you." Dosu took a step back, pure terror on his face. This kid is on a level even higher than the curse mark, he thought, terrified. I'll give you the scroll, just let us go." Naruto stopped, considering his options. He should kill them for touching a single hair on Sakura's head, but she came first before his bloodlust. He nodded in agreement and extended his hand. "Hand over the scroll, and if I sense your chakra within 5 minutes, you're dead." Dosu nodded and quickly produced the scroll. "Here it is," he tossed it to Naruto, who caught it swiftly and walked over to pick up Ken. Then, he walked over to Zaku. "Hey, Dobi, don't interfere. I'm going to kill them," Sasuke said, advancing again to attack Dosu. "Shut up. I made the deal, and it stays that way," Naruto replied, turning to Sasuke. "Leave." Sasuke nodded reluctantly, taking a step back. "Curse you, Dobi. Now you have to fight me," he growled. He was having fun when Naruto interrupted, and he thirsted for blood, no matter whose it was. He ran quickly to where Naruto was, surprisingly never taking his eyes off him. The last thing he felt was something like a concrete wall crashing into his face. Sasuke's body was sent flying backward and collided forcefully with the tree where Neji and Tenten were perched. "Curse it, one blow and he's unconscious," Neji said through gritted teeth. The red-haired boy moved his head, making his neck crack, and approached his teammate. He knelt in front of Sakura, smiling, causing a pair of dimples to appear on his cheeks, and the slightly thicker birthmarks to stand out even more. "Are you okay, Sakura?" he asked gently. For some reason, Sakura was a bit annoyed by how her name sounded from Naruto's mouth. Almost immediately, she noticed the absence of the usual Chan, and that's why she didn't like it. I'm fine, she replied equally softly. "What happened to you, Naruto?" Ino at her side was drooling a bit, while Shikamaru and Choji were on guard. They knew they had no chance, it was instinctive, but they would still be on guard, and if they had to die, they would die fighting. This is not the time, we have to find a heaven scroll and head to the tower, he said, looking at Ino with a smile, causing her to blush even more. You should go too, I don't know how long I was unconscious, and we only had 5 days. He helped Sakura stand, passing his right arm around her waist, and they walked over to Sasuke. Like Ino, Sakura was also blushing, but the pain from her wounds masked it fairly well. He stood her up for a moment and approached his other teammate. The markings no longer covered Sasuke's body, and he seemed quite alright except for the bruise beginning to show on the left side of his face. Naruto hoisted Sasuke over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes and approached Sakura once more to help her walk. Once they disappeared into the trees, the rest of those present relaxed. What the hell just happened? Shikamaru asked. For the first time in his life, he had no idea what was going on, and his mind was blank. Is that Naruto, the blonde idiot we met at the beginning of the exam? Tenten asked. Like the other two girls, she had felt oddly comfortable with Naruto's killing intent, as if he were protecting them. Neji nodded. It's the same chakra signature, only more controlled. When we met him, he was a turbulent mass of energy. I suppose that's why he couldn't stay still. Now he's calm and flowing smoothly. Damn, he's hot, Ino said, wiping her drool away. I can't believe it, what happened to him? We can go now, Choji muttered, coming very close to wetting himself since Zaku's attack began. Shikamaru nodded and, taking Ino with him, jumped away from Naruto's group. They still needed to obtain a scroll. Neji descended from the tree branch and picked up Lee, who was still unconscious and bleeding from his ear. Let's go. Tenten nodded, and they also moved away in the direction of the tower. Naruto's team found a river, so they stopped to clean themselves and tend to their wounds. Sakura had the worst injuries, but fortunately, none of them were too severe, they were mostly cuts and bruises. Naruto's wounds were already closed, just like Sasuke's, revealing the scars he had accumulated throughout his life. The tattoo on his belly was gone, and he was now even taller than Sasuke. For Sasuke, they placed a cold cloth over his swollen eye to prevent it from getting worse. So, what are we going to do from here? Sakura asked, wincing when she touched a cut near her eye. First things first, you need to rest, Naruto replied, as he had before. I don't know how long we were unconscious, and you must be extremely tired. Besides, you did a great job defending us, so you deserve it. From here on, I'll take care of things. Naruto smiled again, showing his dimples, and Sakura blushed while looking at the ground, but she felt content. I suppose we can look for the scroll while heading to the tower, or as a last resort, we can steal the scroll we need from one of the teams that make it to the tower. That plan is devious, I can't believe we didn't think of it before. Even if we don't have one of the scrolls, we can steal them from other groups in the tower when they're more relaxed. With the element of surprise, it shouldn't be too difficult to gain entry. Sakura was genuinely impressed. Not only had Naruto undergone a physical transformation, but it seemed like his intelligence had also improved drastically. It was as if a completely different person stood before her. That's an excellent idea, she murmured. Sleep first, and then we'll worry about that, Naruto said, helping her lie down. By the way, you look really pretty with short hair. She closed her eyes, blushing happily. For some reason, being complimented by the now red-haired Naruto felt really good. She also felt incredibly relaxed with him nearby and awake, as if nothing could harm her as long as he was there to protect her. It was somewhat similar to how she had felt with Lee, only Naruto had started much earlier in their relationship to be her protector. While Sasuke had only protected her once, Naruto had already protected her several times. That's why she had wanted to grow stronger. While they both moved forward, she remained stagnant. After this damn exam, she would start training properly, with or without Kakashi-sensei's help. She fell asleep within seconds, her head resting on the ground. She was too tired and sore for anything else. Naruto stayed close, watching his teammate sleep. It had been difficult to let go of the Chan when saying her name, but he had to accept it. Sakura wasn't meant for him, she was just as in love with Sasuke as he was with her. As the stupid saying went, if you love someone, let them go. If he had already begun to dislike Sasuke before, he now despised him completely. Apparently, the seal also affected his brain because he used to think of Sasuke as a brother, ignoring how badly he was treated and humiliated. How stupid and ignorant he had been before in everything he did. He understood a bit why Sakura was always insulting him. He also realized other things, like why the hell he had never complained to the Hokage that the academy teachers weren't teaching him properly or that they would take him out of class so he wouldn't learn the basics of the academy, which were supposed to be crucial. As he said, he had been a stupid sheep following someone like Sasuke. At least Sakura treated him badly for justified reasons. He would never say it out loud, but Sasuke, what a fool he was back then. In everything he did because he couldn't escape his sheepish behavior. Now, things were different, and he would correct them as soon as possible. Strangely, he remembered Sasuke's fighting style and Lee's taijutsu as if he had learned it just by watching them. He was already getting ideas to combine them. He also remembered the basics of Sakura's techniques enough to correct his own flawed katas. He also understood more about ninjutsu and chakra control. After this, he could start training properly and become stronger. For now, it was all brute force, but he wanted more. Even though it was engraved or encrypted in his brain, he had some information about his bloodlines. With that, he could manage for now, but he needed to practice a bit more. He didn't want to embarrass himself again, especially not in front of so many people. Now that his body and mind had undergone a significant transformation, he felt a strange connection to the nine tails within him. It was almost like he was becoming Kurama in human form. As a result, he had received a few gifts, to put it mildly. First, his senses had sharpened to match Kurama's, including his sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch. They had reached impressive levels. Combined with the innate Uzumaki ability to be a sensor, it made it nearly impossible to catch Naruto off guard. He had also gained instincts. If there was any danger nearby, his animal instincts would alert him in seconds, allowing him to prepare for any dangerous situation. And finally, the one that amused him the most, as Kurama's fox body in human form, he could control a certain aspect that Naruto wouldn't even notice due to being human and not relying on it to attract the opposite sex, pheromones. In the animal world, females release reproductive pheromones into the air, which males detect and respond by emitting male pheromones as a way of marking their territory. If another male is interested in the female, he would do the same, potentially leading to a fight. However, since Naruto was partially human and couldn't engage in such behaviors, the red-haired boy would be the only one capable of doing so through the fox. In this way, he could attract any human female who came into contact with his pheromones, which he had already started emitting during the previous fight. What did strike him as strange, something he assumed was a product of Naruto's fusion with him, was how his killer instinct had spread. He knew it would be impressive when fully unleashed, but he didn't anticipate it acting the way it did. While it seemed to embrace and crush all the men present with impressive force, it enveloped and protected the women, taking their form and preventing harm. It was the Kyuubi, and it wasn't easy to surprise him, but this had done it, and then some. He couldn't wait to see what would happen next. After all, he was the Kyuubi, not Kitsune, the strongest of all the tailed beasts, and he deserved nothing but the best. Especially considering he was on the same team as that wretched Uchiha and someone who reminded him all too well of Madara. He wanted to kill him now while he slept, but where was the fun in that? They had taken him by surprise the previous 2 times, but this time, he would be ready. There wouldn't be a third time, and he would make sure to wipe the Uchiha off the face of the earth. Naruto let Sakura sleep for about 8 hours, waking her up because they needed to continue the exam. His eye was now completely closed, and the wound stung, but he felt much better thanks to the rest. When she got up, her bones cracked, but it felt surprisingly good. "Let's move towards the tower," Sakura said once she was ready. "If we encounter another team along the way, we'll take their scroll, no matter which one it is. If we don't find the one we need, we'll wait at the tower's entrance," Naruto commented as he carried Sasuke, who was still seeing stars in his sleep. "Let's hope we don't have any more problems." The pink-haired girl nodded, and they leapt onto the tree branches to start moving. She was impressed that Naruto could move at such speed while carrying an unconscious Sasuke, but she was getting used to this new Naruto. A couple of hours later, they could see the tower in the center, but for some reason, no one had attacked them. Strangely, no matter how much they ran, the tower didn't seem to get any closer. Sakura asked, "What's happening? Why isn't the tower getting any closer?" Naruto stopped and looked around, tossing a kunai at a tree, then glanced back at Sakura. "I don't know what's going on, but I suppose we could be running in circles. Everything looks the same in this forest, so it's possible, but we've been running in a straight line toward the tower. Let's keep going. I'll leave the kunai as a marker in case we're running in circles." They didn't know how much time was left before the exam ended, and with all the trouble they had faced, time seemed inconsequential. The only reason they knew they still had time was that they had encountered other Konoha teams when both Naruto and Sasuke woke up. They started running again, trying to reach the tower, but they remained in the same place no matter how much they moved. Sakura pointed to her right, saying, "There's the kunai." "What's happening?" asked the confused redhead. They looked around, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary, and it was impossible that they were walking in circles. Then Sakura realized what was happening. "It's a genjutsu," she said, opening her eyes. "We're in a genjutsu, that's why it seemed like we weren't moving at all despite running." She placed Sasuke down and sat on a branch. "What are the ways to dispel a genjutsu?" Naruto asked. Sakura looked back at him, puzzled. "They taught us that in class, Naruto. How do you not know?" "I got kicked out of class for sitting there." The pink-haired girl brought her finger to her lip, recalling that day. She remembered being told it would be a very important class and almost immediately heard shouts, then Naruto shouting back, and the Chūnin telling the then blonde to leave the class. "Oh, right. I don't know why, but they did kick you out," she muttered, a bit distressed. "Well, there are two ways to break free. The first is by causing ourselves immense physical pain, and the second is by obstructing the flow of chakra and then expelling a large amount of it." Naruto nodded. "Well, you're not going to hurt yourself anymore, so let's use the second method. I hope a big burst of chakra can work as well as your explanation without interrupting the flow." Sakura was about to ask what he meant when she felt a tremendous heat coming from her right side. When she looked back, she found Naruto radiating massive waves of blue chakra. She didn't know how she could see chakra, but she assumed it had something to do with being in a genjutsu. Feeling the warmth of Naruto's chakra was reassuring. The image around them soon began to distort and melt like paint on a wall. Then they heard a sound like shattering glass, and they reappeared in the forest of death, with the starry sky above them. That was impressive. Naruto disappeared as he had in the fight against the Atto Nin. Sakura heard a few screams, metal clashes, and some pained groans, followed by silence filled with the sounds of crickets. She was startled when she heard Naruto appear beside her and almost threw a kunai at him. They were grass ninja, and luckily, they had this, he said, raising the scroll from the sky. "Great," she smiled charmingly. They no longer had to worry. "Now let's continue on our way and pray we don't arrive late." Sakura nodded, and they were soon on their way to the tower again. In the silence of the night, only the forest animals and Sakura's footsteps could be heard. She looked back at her companion, who was moving in absolute silence, and despite them moving at the same speed, Naruto didn't make a sound. He moved as silently as a fox. She could have sworn she even saw the image of a giant fox wrapping around Naruto for a second, a huge fox with dark orange fur and 9 beautiful tails swaying behind him. She was probably just tired, and none of that had happened. They continued on their way in silence, with her unconscious companion and the chirping of crickets marking their path.